Everything that's being made in China is absolute junk. Or at least that's what people will tell you. Now, I have something right in front of me right here which proves that absolutely wrong. And the other thing is, I know there's a lot of human rights issues, a lot of things that go into it, but I hear this thing echoed over and over again. It's made in China, I'm not gonna touch it. And you have every right to, or every right to buy what you want to and leave what you don't. But after watching today's video, I hope that this at least changes your mind and opens your eyes to the fact that great quality footwear, great quality goods, craftsmanship can come from any corner of the globe. A globe has no corner. Why do people say that? Now, I talk a lot about boots on this channel, and mostly I like rugged workwear type of boots because that's the life that I live and it fits into that niche. But there's definitely a place for more dressy boots, especially ones that can be worn with a suit. I mean, look at anybody in Italy. They're almost always wearing sleek black Chelsea boots with a suit, and it looks dynamite. So there's definitely a place for it. But what if there was a way to combine, a rugged boot with a sleek Chelsea boot? That's exactly what I feel that Grant Stone has done arguably better than anybody else with this boot right here. They're aptly named and quite on the nose, Grant Stone Chelsea boot. Now, if you remember my first Grant Stone video, I was pretty much blown away by the quality you got for the price. And I compared them to brands like Allen Edmonds and Alden. And the reason I use those two is because most people who are into footwear have an experience with either one of those brands. So it works as a good yardstick. Now that has carried right through to this pair here, which is my second pair of Grant Stones. And I would say that honestly, the way these are built really punch $200 or $300 above the price that they're at, which is under 300 bucks. So the construction of this boot is pretty much what you'd expect from any decent $300 boot. Goodyear welting, veg tanned insole, welt and midsole, cork filler with a steel shank, cow leather lining, Grant Stone's own studded sole, which is very reminiscent of the Day-Night sole, and of course that Charles F. Stead waxy Commander leather. And if you're like me, this is what drew you to these boots in the first place. And that wax suede is a stunner. It looks incredible, and it isn't too thin at approximately 1.7 millimeters. And if you were quick enough to snag one of those Satchel and Paige Montgomery jackets in the waxed rough out, well, these basically match it perfectly. The overall look is less sleek than most Chelsea boots out there, but that's absolutely a good thing if you plan on wearing these with denim. They won't be confused with work boots or Blundstones or anything like that, but they're a great balance in my opinion, with decent interior room and a nice toe box. Where I really want to focus attention though is the overall quality. Take a look at the stitch density on the welt itself. This is stuff that you usually don't see outside of high-end Japanese boots. It's pretty impressive, and while it's not perfect, it's far exceeding most of the Allen Edmonds I've ever seen. In use, these boots are quite comfortable, even though that will be different for everybody, and I really try not to use that as a metric. I noticed that unlike a lot of Chelseas, they don't hug the top of your foot very tightly, your instep. They don't hug that too much. I have a high instep. It's always been a problem for me, and that's the issue with wearing laceless boots if you do have a high instep, is that often you get pain on the top part of your foot. But these have a nice bit of room throughout, which makes them much nicer to wear. They have plenty of room, and even if you have a wider foot, they fit pretty well in my experience. So for under $300, the smooth leather version costs just over $300. I can't think of a boot which matches this quality. Sure, it's not for everyone, but if you like the boots and don't object to their country of origin, it's hard for me to think of a boot that offers this level of construction and finishing for less. It's a good example of the huge leap from $200 boots to $300 boots. But let's look at a couple of options so you can make the best decision for yourself. Now, the first one I want to talk about is the Tailor Stitch Ranch boot, because I think that's the closest that I've seen to these. And now those boots are much more expensive at, I think, $375, and you can get a similar look to this, which I tried to achieve by waxing the chocolate suede. They came close. I actually dyed all of the leather on those because it was a very bright, like natural veg tan. This is a little bit darker on the Grant Stones, and I think they came out pretty good. But I don't think that they match the quality of these. Matter of fact, I know that they don't. These are a higher quality boot. Now, if you like the look of those tailor stitch boots, then you can go ahead and get them. But I think overall, these are a higher quality boot for less. So as long as the styling is to your liking and the fit is right on, I think that this is the way to go. Now, what about something like the Taft Hero boot? Now, I actually have a pair of these, and they're much sleeker, much more pointy. I actually like wearing these. I have a gray suit that sometimes I'll wear, and they look really good with those and a matching belt. But they're definitely not built to the level of the Grant Stones. They feel lighter. They are definitely using some more synthetic materials in the insole and the midsole. And they're not bad, no doubt. They're okay. I wouldn't want to stand all day in them. But for a little bit more money, 15 bucks more, you get the Grant Stone, which I think is a better deal overall, as long as you like the look of this as compared to the Taft Hero, which is more sleek and I would say dressier. Now, how about this one right here? This is the $190 Thursday boot Cavalier. I got this pair of boots to compare to my old Duke Chelsea boots, which were good in the beginning, but over a little bit of time, they sort of fell flat. So far, these have been very good. I haven't worn them very much. I want to put some miles in on them before I really bring them to you for your attention. How about these, which are about $100 less than the Grant Stones? Well, right off the bat, there is definitely a weight difference. The Grant Stones feel more substantial, they feel heavier, and these are, the Thursdays are also, again, pointier, a little bit less robust than the Grant Stones. So these feel, at least at the outset, like they are a lighter duty build quality than the Grant Stone. Even when you look at the stitching, the Grant Stone seems like it is built more robustly. $100 less though for the Thursday version, which again does use a pour-on midsole, doesn't have all the leather that this one has in it. But let's consider the price, $100 less. This isn't a bad route to go. I mean, again, this is me speaking without having really worn them for very long, so take that into consideration. But at the outset, at least, they look very similar. The finishing and everything is better on the Grant Stone. I do feel that these are they're built better overall, but for the casual wearer who doesn't really care about such things, this isn't a bad option. So the Thursday Cavalier, that might be a decent option for you. And I think that this is maybe one of the best examples that I've ever seen. Now, it's not perfect, but it's way, way above a lot of its competitors out there, even though it's made in China. And I like the fact that they're actually proud of where they make it. Grant Stone does not hide that at all. They put it right in the features list. You don't have to go looking for it. They say right out there that it's made in China, which is clearly not a bad thing when it comes to quality. I think you guys would be really impressed if you held one of these in your hands. It's very nicely made for 300 bucks. When it comes down to somebody asking me what's the biggest bang for the buck or the best boots under $300 or whatever, I think Grant Stone is right up there in the running. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about the brand. Is made in China a deal breaker for you? Are you somebody who's only interested in buying made in USA stuff? Let me know in the comments section. Try to keep it civil. I know people have some very strong opinions on this matter in particular, but let's keep it civil, and I'll talk to you guys down there. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Catch you next time.